My name is Lena Mitchell. 10 years ago, I married James, an ambitious, charming man who quickly made a name for himself in the real estate world. I, on the other hand, preferred to keep my accomplishments low-key. I graduated from MIT with dual degrees in finance and business and computer science. But I didn't crave the spotlight. James, though, he thrived in it. He loved being the center of attention, loved the deals, the networking, and the applause that came with his success. I was fine with that. He was good at what he did, and I supported him, just as he supported me in my career, even if it wasn't always in the limelight. I thought we had a good thing. I really did. But recently something started to feel off. It started small. Little things I brushed off at first. James's late nights, a few strange phone calls, and some minor discrepancies in our bank account. I didn't think much of it at first. It could have been a mistake, right? People are busy, especially someone like James, always hustling. But as the weeks passed, I started noticing more withdrawals that didn't make sense. Big ones. $50,000 here, $100,000 there. I asked him about it, of course. "You know I've got deals in the works," he'd say, brushing me off with his usual charm. "Can't go into details." "You wouldn't understand." That was his go-to line. Always vague, always non-committal. It wasn't like him to be so secretive. It wasn't like him to shut me out. And that's when the seed of doubt was planted. I'm not the kind of person to jump to conclusions. I'm analytical, methodical, trained for it, actually. I studied computer science, which means I don't just accept things at face value. If something's off, I dig until I find the truth. So that's exactly what I did. It wasn't difficult to access our bank records. I mean, I knew all the passwords. We were married after all. I had access to our shared accounts, the ones that paid for everything. Mortgage, bills, the little luxuries we'd gotten used to over the years. But now, I wasn't just looking at account balances. I was looking for patterns. I wrote a custom script to track every transaction. Simple, really. A few lines of code to flag unusual activities. At first, the results were harmless. Just some automatic payments, a few wire transfers to contractors. But as I dug deeper, I found something that made my stomach turn. James had been moving money. It wasn't small either. These were large sums, hundreds of thousands of dollars, being sent to an account I didn't recognize. A shell company registered in the Cayman Islands, of all places. I dug further, pulling every piece of data I could find. The company's name was Elysian Holdings. Too clean, too professional, almost too perfect. I ran it through every database I could access. Nothing. There was no record of it in any public registry. It was a ghost. That wasn't just unusual, it was suspicious. Then I traced the transactions, the IP addresses they were coming from. They weren't local. One came from an encrypted server in Luxembourg. I ran the address again through a high-level encryption system I had access to just to be sure. I was looking at something deeper than just a financial mistake. I was looking at a financial scheme. James had been siphoning money, our money, into offshore accounts, hiding it under a fake company. The more I uncovered, the more disgusted I became. The confrontation. I wasn't ready to confront him yet, not until I had all the pieces. I had been methodical for a reason. I needed everything, every transaction, every hidden step, every account. The deeper I dug, the worse it got. The transactions were timed, too precise. This wasn't a mistake, it was planned. James had been setting up a financial escape plan. I couldn't help but feel a cold anger rising in me. The man I'd married, the man I'd trusted with my life, he'd been planning to leave me. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about money. It was about power, control. He'd been living a double life, using me as a cover while he built a backdoor exit. And here I was, sitting in our home, watching the walls close in as everything I thought I knew about my life crumbled. Over the next week, I became obsessed with finding out more. I tracked every single wire transfer. I connected the dots. I found the bank accounts, the offshore holdings, the fake corporations. I even located the individuals who had been involved in these shady dealings. They weren't just random criminals, they were professionals, people who knew how to cover their tracks. I started piecing together a story. James had been moving money for months, trying to build up enough to either disappear or bail himself out of some bad investments. Maybe it started small, but the sums kept growing. I wasn't just confronting a few dishonest transactions anymore. I was staring down a full-fledged money laundering operation. And then I found the name of the man James had been meeting with. I'd seen him around, this big guy with the permanent smirk and the dark sunglasses, the kind who looked like he didn't belong in James's world. I followed him just once to see where he went. He disappeared into a back alley that led to a nondescript office building. I had seen enough. That evening, I decided it was time to confront him. When James came home that night, it was late, like always. He tossed his keys on the counter and kissed me on the cheek, distracted as usual. "Long day?" I asked casually, trying to keep my cool. He smiled, half-heartedly. "You know how it is. Deals, calls, the usual." I watched him closely, trying to gauge his reaction. I had everything I needed, the evidence, the accounts, the transactions. But I wasn't going to confront him with it just yet. I needed him to feel like he was in control. And then, the moment came. I looked at him and said, "I know about the money, the transfers, the offshore accounts, the fake company." He froze. I saw the blood drain from his face. "What?" he said, trying to laugh it off. But his voice wavered. "Lena, what are you talking about? The man you've been meeting with? The guy in the sunglasses? The one I saw you with last week?" His expression faltered. He took a deep breath, like he was trying to steady himself. "Lena, you don't understand." "Don't understand," I interrupted. "I understand perfectly. You've been siphoning money from our accounts and hiding it in some shell company. You've been lying to me, James, for months." I could see him start to panic. His usual smoothness was gone, replaced by a sense of urgency. "Lena, please, I didn't mean for you to find out. I thought I could fix it before you noticed." "Fix it?" I asked, my voice cold. "You've been running a scam, James, and now you're going to pay for it." He opened his mouth to say something else, but I didn't let him. The aftermath of betrayal is never simple. It's a mix of emotions, a whirlwind of thoughts, but for Lena, it was a moment of clarity. She saw the path ahead, and she knew what had to be done. "I've already contacted my lawyer," Lena said. "I've already gathered everything. The accounts, the transactions, the IP addresses, the shell companies. The authorities will be here any minute." His eyes widened. He took a step toward her, but she stepped back, holding up a hand to stop him. "It's too late. You made your choice. You thought you could hide everything and walk away unscathed. But now, the world is going to see what you really are." He shook his head, his voice pleading. "Lena, no, please, I didn't mean it. I'll fix it. Just give me a chance." She stared at him, her heart a mix of anger and disbelief. "I gave you everything, James. And this is how you repay me?" The next morning, the knock on the door came. 2 officers entered the apartment, followed by Lena's lawyer. They had a warrant. James was arrested for wire fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. He didn't fight them. He knew it was over. As the days passed, Lena couldn't bring herself to feel sorry for him. She didn't feel the guilt, the remorse that she thought would come. No, what she felt was relief. The weight of his betrayal had lifted from her shoulders. James was gone. The money he thought he could hide was gone. And Lena? She was finally free. The truth was, she didn't need him. She never did. She had built her own life, her own success, her own empire, and now she would continue to rise without him.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Right.
Today we're going to be looking at something pretty crazy.
Yeah, this one's a doozy.
Yeah, we're diving into this personal account of betrayal and, financial intrigue and like all the crazy things that go along with that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we're getting it straight from the source.
Yeah.
We're not just getting the news reports and all that. We're getting this woman, Lena's actual account of what went down.
Exactly. And it's really, I think, a reminder that, things are not always as they seem on the surface, right? You
Yeah.
see this couple, Lena and James, outwardly successful. She's an MIT grad. He's this charismatic real estate guy. But behind closed doors,
Yeah.
there's this whole other story unfolding.
Yeah, and right off the bat, she starts to notice these little shifts. James is usually very open and communicative, and all of a sudden he's having these late nights, he's getting these phone calls and being all secretive about it.
Yeah.
And then the financial discrepancies start to pop up, and it's like these tiny cracks in this seemingly perfect facade.
Right. And what strikes me is how attuned Lena is to these subtle changes, right?
Yeah.
She's a computer scientist. Her mind is wired to see patterns, to analyze data. So even though these might seem like small things to some people,
Yeah.
her brain is like, wait a minute, something's not adding up here.
It's like she's running an algorithm in the background,
Yeah.
picking up on these inconsistencies that most people would probably just miss.
Absolutely. And there's this one detail that really stood out to me.
Oh, yeah.
She mentions that whenever she would try to ask James, about these late nights or the finances, he would just dismiss her with this, "You wouldn't understand."
It's so condescending.
It is, and it's a classic tactic of deception, right? It's a way to shut down communication to avoid accountability.
Totally. By saying you wouldn't understand, he's putting himself in this position of superiority and further isolating her.
Right, exactly.
But Lena, being Lena, she doesn't just let it slide. She decides to take matters into her own hands.
I'm not surprised.
She writes this custom script to analyze their financial transactions. And what's so cool is that she's not just looking at the balances.
Right.
She's digging into the metadata, the timestamps, the IP addresses, like all this hidden information that's embedded in each transaction.
She's not just tracking money, she's tracking behavior, right?
Yeah.
And that's where her technical expertise becomes so crucial.
It's like digital detective work.
Exactly. And what she uncovers is pretty damning. There are these large sums of money being transferred to a shell company in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, boy.
Late at night, all routed through servers in Luxembourg. And the name of the shell company, Elysian Holdings, it's almost laughable.
Ironic.
Right? Elysium in Greek mythology is this paradise, this place of perfect happiness.
So he's creating this illusion of this perfect life, this escape route, while he's actively deceiving her.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, Lena discovers that the IP addresses are linked to a private network that's known for its use in high-level financial crimes.
Okay, so at this point, it's not just like, oh, he's hiding some money or something.
Yeah.
This is serious.
Right? This is a whole other level. This confirms her suspicions that she's not dealing with a simple oversight, but a deliberate and sophisticated financial scheme.
And we're not talking small amounts either. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars, meticulously planned and executed.
It's a betrayal on multiple levels, right? It's not just about the money. It's about the trust, the intimacy, the foundation of their relationship.
Absolutely. And you can feel the weight of that betrayal hitting her at this point.
Right.
After weeks of digging, she finally uncovers the truth, and it's devastating.
The psychological impact of that kind of betrayal can be profound. It's like your whole world is shattered, you're left feeling vulnerable, lost.
Totally.
And there's actually research that shows the long-term effects of financial abuse can be as damaging as physical abuse.
Really?
Yeah, it can lead to anxiety, depression, PTSD. So this is not just about money. This is about a deep violation of trust.
Right. And Lena describes feeling all these emotions, anger, disgust, a sense of violation. But what's remarkable is that she doesn't allow herself to be paralyzed by those emotions.
Yeah, she's a fighter.
She actually doubles down on her investigation.
It's like she's channeling all that pain, all that anger into uncovering the full extent of the scheme.
Like she needs to know everything.
Exactly. And as she digs deeper, she uncovers even more layers of deception.
Wow, this is like an onion.
Right. She meticulously tracks each wire transfer, connects the dots, finds the hidden accounts, and ultimately identifies the individuals involved. She even mentions this shadowy figure, a man in sunglasses, who seems to be at the heart of this operation.
It's getting scary now.
It is. It's like a glimpse into this hidden world that James was operating in, this dark underbelly of wealth and power.
Yeah. And it pushes Lena even further. She follows the trail of money and uncovers this whole network of offshore accounts, shell corporations, complex financial transactions. This is way beyond embezzlement. This is full-blown money laundering.
You're absolutely right. It's the process of making illegally gained funds appear legitimate, and it often involves these incredibly complex transactions designed to obscure the origin of the money.
So it's not just James involved here. There's a whole network of professionals, lawyers, accountants, bankers, who are all complicit in this scheme.
It takes a village, as they say. And it's a sobering thought, right? That this kind of financial crime often thrives in the shadows, enabled by those who prioritize profit over ethics.
It's scary to think about. And it raises the stakes significantly. Lena's not just dealing with a husband who's been unfaithful. She's caught in the crosshairs of a criminal enterprise.
Exactly. And that brings us to the confrontation. Armed with irrefutable evidence, Lena knows it's time to face James.
Oh, this is intense.
She waits for the right moment, letting him believe he's still in control, and then she drops the bombshell.
I can't imagine what's going through her mind at this point.
Well, just picture it. James, all confident and charming, suddenly his facade starts to crumble as Lena reveals what she knows.
And she doesn't hold back. She tells him, I know about the money. You've been running a scam, James. You made your choice.
It's such a powerful declaration. It's like she's finally reclaiming her power, refusing to be a victim any longer.
It's like she's taking control of the narrative.
Exactly. And you can sense that shift.
Yeah.
From this point forward, Lena is no longer the unsuspecting wife. She's the architect of her own destiny.
It's a huge turning point. And we'll be right back with part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll explore what happens after this confrontation and the consequences that James faces.
This is going to be good.
Buckle up. All right, so we're back, and things are about to get really real for both Lena and James.
Yeah, we left off with Lena confronting James, and the truth is finally out in the open, but now she has to deal with the aftermath.
It's like this secondary shockwave hits. The betrayal itself is devastating. But then comes the realization that you have to deal with the consequences, the fallout, the legal battles, the financial mess.
Absolutely, and all those practical challenges can feel so overwhelming on top of the emotional turmoil.
Totally. I mean, you're already reeling from the betrayal, and then you have to deal with police lawyers, accountants. It's a lot.
It is. It's a whole system to navigate, and it can be incredibly daunting.
And Lena's not a lawyer or anything. She's a computer scientist, so she's kind of thrown into this whole new world.
Right, but she's smart, she knows her strengths, and she knows when to seek help.
Right. She mentions in her account that she immediately contacted a lawyer who specializes in financial crimes.
That's a crucial step, especially given the complexity of James's scheme.
Yeah, a good lawyer can help you protect your rights and make sure you're taking the right steps to secure your assets and seek justice.
Exactly. They can guide you through the legal system, which can be a maze even for those who are familiar with it.
And it's interesting because Lena, being so analytical, she approaches this legal process almost like another problem to solve.
Yeah, she's gathering evidence, documenting everything meticulously.
It's like she's channeling her energy into something constructive instead of letting the emotional chaos consume her.
Right. That methodical approach is likely a coping mechanism, a way to regain a sense of control in a situation that feels completely out of control.
And it seems to be working because the police, armed with Lena's evidence, they move quickly.
Yeah, James is arrested and charged with wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, the whole 9 yards.
His carefully constructed world of wealth and success starts to crumble.
It's often a shock to perpetrators like James. They've been operating under this illusion of control, believing they can outsmart the system.
Right.
But when that system catches up, the consequences can be swift and devastating.
Like that saying, justice moves slowly, but grinds exceedingly fine.
Exactly. And in James's case, the wheels of justice are definitely turning, and he's facing serious prison time, hefty fines, the potential loss of everything he's built.
So what about Lena? How does she cope with the emotional fallout, while also dealing with the legal proceedings and the financial mess that James has left behind?
Well, this is where the strength of her character really shines through. She doesn't allow herself to wallow in self-pity or bitterness.
Right.
Instead, she focuses on rebuilding her life piece by piece.
She mentions in her account that she found therapy incredibly helpful.
Yeah, therapy can be a game changer in situations like this.
It gives you a safe space to process your emotions and develop coping mechanisms.
Right. It's a non-judgmental space where you can explore your feelings without fear of judgment or reprisal.
She also talks about the importance of her support network, friends, family, even online communities of people who have experienced similar betrayals.
That sense of connection and shared experience is crucial.
Right. It's like you're not alone in this.
Exactly. Knowing that others have walked this path and come out stronger on the other other side can provide a powerful sense of hope and validation.
Like that saying, we are stronger together.
Absolutely. And in Lena's case, that community of support becomes a lifeline, helping her navigate the choppy waters of recovery.
And throughout this process, she never loses sight of her own goals.
Yeah, she's determined to rebuild her financial security, reclaim her independence, and create a life that is truly her own. This is a key aspect of healing from betrayal. It's about reclaiming your power, your agency, your sense of self.
She refuses to let James's actions define her.
Exactly. She's using this experience as a catalyst for growth and self-discovery.
It's inspiring to see her emerge from this incredibly challenging situation, not as a victim, but as a survivor, stronger and more determined than ever.
It really is. And it speaks to the resilience of the human spirit, our capacity to adapt, to heal, and to find meaning even in the face of adversity.
Lena's story is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always a glimmer of hope. And that by embracing our own strength and seeking support, we can overcome even the most daunting challenges.
You've captured it perfectly. Lena's journey, while deeply personal, offers universal lessons about resilience, self-discovery, and the power of the human spirit to triumph over adversity.
So as we move into the final part of this deep dive, we're going to explore how Lena ultimately defines her new normal.
Right.
How she navigates the emotional landscape of forgiveness, and what insights she gleans from this whole transformative experience.
Can't wait to dive into that.
Okay, so here we are in the final part of our deep dive into Lena's story. We've seen her go through so much: the initial shock, the investigation, the confrontation with James, the legal battles, and now it's like the dust is settling and she's left to pick up the pieces.
This is really where the true work of healing begins. You know, the initial crisis has passed, and now Lena's faced with this massive task of rebuilding her life, her identity.
It's like she's gone through this massive earthquake and now she has to rebuild from the rubble.
Exactly. And that can be a really daunting process, especially when you're also dealing with the emotional weight of betrayal.
Right. She describes this period as a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
You know, she's relieved that the truth is out in the open, but there's still anger, sadness, even this weird sense of emptiness.
It makes sense. Trauma, especially betrayal trauma, it really throws your whole world into disarray.
Yeah. And it can take a long time to process all those complicated emotions, to grieve the loss of the relationship, and to figure out who you are outside of all of that.
It's like you have to rediscover yourself.
One thing that really stood out to me in Lena's account is her decision to sell their house. You know, this big, lavish house that they shared.
Right.
It's almost like she's shedding a skin, letting go of this physical embodiment of a life that was built on deception.
It's a really powerful symbol of her transformation. It's about reclaiming her space, both physically and emotionally.
It's a bold move, too, because she could have fought to keep it, you know, as part of the settlement. But she chose to walk away to start fresh.
She's not interested in clinging to the remnants of a life that was essentially a lie. She wants to create something new, something authentic, something that reflects who she really is.
So what about James? Where does he end up in all of this?
Well, he's facing the full force of the legal system. The charges against him are serious, and thanks to Lena's meticulous documentation, the evidence is pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, she mentions that he tries to contact her at first with apologies, then with pleas for leniency.
But she stays strong. She refuses to engage.
She's protecting herself, drawing a boundary.
Exactly. She's not letting him pull her back into that cycle of manipulation and deceit.
There's this one line she says that's really powerful. She says, his consequences are his to bear. I'm not responsible for his choices.
Wow. It's like she's finally breaking free from his influence.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that forgiveness, while it can be a part of healing, it's not a requirement.
Right. Sometimes the most empowering choice is to simply walk away and focus on your own well-being.
So what about the financial side of things? James stole a lot of money. Is Lena able to recover any of that?
Well, the legal system does try to provide restitution to victims of financial crimes, but it's a complicated process and there's no guarantee that she'll get everything back.
Right, but she's working with her lawyers to explore every option.
And she's not just sitting back and waiting, she's taking control of her own finances. She sets up a new bank account, starts rebuilding her credit, even takes a course on financial literacy.
It's like she's determined to not only regain her financial footing, but to empower herself with knowledge and control.
Absolutely. She's not going to be a victim again.
And as time goes on, we see Lena really starting to thrive in this new life. She finds a new apartment that she describes as being full of light and possibility. She reconnects with old friends, takes up painting, and even starts volunteering at a tech education program for underprivileged kids.
It's amazing to see her not just surviving, but actually thriving. She's embracing new experiences, finding joy in simple things, and giving back to her community.
It's like she's discovered this whole new side of herself, this strength and resilience that she didn't even know she had.
You know, adversity often reveals our true character. And in Lena's case, it's revealed a woman who is incredibly strong, compassionate, and determined.
Her story is such a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It's a reminder that even when we go through these incredibly difficult experiences, we have the ability to heal, to grow, and to create a life that is meaningful and fulfilling.
It's a story that offers hope to anyone who has ever felt the pain of betrayal. It shows that healing is possible, that growth can come from the ashes of adversity, and that we all have the strength to overcome our challenges and create a brighter future.
So what is it about Lena's journey that stands out to you the most?
I think it's her unwavering commitment to her own well-being. You know, she never loses sight of her own worth, her own goals, her own right to happiness. Even in the darkest moments, she chooses to focus on what she can control and to take steps to heal and move forward.
It's an inspiring reminder that we all have the power to choose our own path, to define our own narrative, and to create a life that is truly our own.
Absolutely. Lena's story is a testament to the incredible strength of the human spirit, our ability to overcome adversity, to find strength in vulnerability, and to emerge from the shadows of betrayal into a new beginning.
And on that note, we come to the end of our deep dive into Lena's extraordinary story. We hope you found it insightful, thought-provoking, and maybe even inspiring. Remember, this is just one story, one perspective. There are countless others out there, each with its own unique lessons and insights. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the complexities of the human experience. Until next time.